Hi, this is Noman. Just to give you a little bit of background, we chose Zander's Pharmacy because we were looking for the best candidate that had a problem with their IT systems where they had a system that needed a lot of help to change over to help them progress in their business. So Zander's Pharmacy is a specialty pharmacy. It is not a regular retail walk-up pharmacy. And since I said it's a specialty pharmacy, there's a lot of a longer, tedious process which requires a lot of information being exchanged between doctors and the pharmacy as well as the patient. So there is a channel that they use. They use phones, but you can't get everything over to the phones. So the best mode of communication they use is faxes, and that's starting to become a problem. But in the meantime, it's been a lot of help. It reduced a lot of time. It prevented fraudulent prescriptions, and it cut down a lot of the errors. So in the existing system, what we have, so doctors send in prescriptions. It's they're no longer mailmen, so they send in prescriptions through faxes, and so the technicians pick them up. Intake takes it, and the pharmacists write it up, and it goes through the process. And it's very helpful. It avoids printing a lot of paper, wasting a lot of paper. The document goes directly into a database, and it saves a hard copy. At the same time, analog machines are still available for doctors to use if they prefer to, or if we need to use them on a dated basis in case of system malfunctions. On the other side, the pharmacy has to send continuous PSRs, the patient service reviews, on each step of the way of the process. So when the prescription comes in, they're sent to fax. When the prescription is written up, they're sent to fax. When up to the point where it's shipped out, the doctors are sent in the fax. So this beats the whole old mail in the prescription or the customer walking up to the pharmacy and handing it in. As the volume's grown, it's starting to become a problem rather than help, because there tends to be more error with the faxes sending out. I would say about 40% of the faxes don't even make it out. About 30% of the faxes that come in have issues. So, and it has a lot to do with the systems, the way the fax server is programmed, or the way the analog machines are made.
Hi, my name is Zander Amathia, and I'm going to walk you through the disadvantages of the current system, which is heavily dependent on the fax machine. So some of the disadvantages of the fax machine is as follows: outdated technology, problems with the line busy, problems with the low resolution, human errors in regards to data entry, and it's a time-consuming process overall. So what all this means is, for example, there is no immediate response or feedback from the recipient, which has to do with the time-consuming process. The human error has to do with, someone might dial the wrong number and send your document to someone else, which would obviously breach security, and that's obviously a confidentiality issue as well. If the receiving machine is busy, the fax you send out will not be delivered. The quality of the document which is received is often poor and might not list all the fine details that it should. If the receiving machine is busy, your fax might end up under a whole load of other faxes which might arrive after it, which has to do with the time-consuming process again, because if everything's mixed up, that takes time out of your day to sort everything out, get it started, get the process started. It can also take a long time to transmit if you have many sheets of paper. This, I believe, has to do with the outdated technology. And another issue with the fax machine is, the fax machine can run out of paper without you even noticing it, which can delay, again, the process.
We would like to implement a process in which we can reduce the need for faxes. Zander's Pharmacy needs a different type of method to successfully send and receive prescription information. Email has proven to be a stronger contender in transmitting information. The only reason why pharmacies and doctors don't use emails to send these private information is because it violates the HIPAA policy. To resolve this issue, Zander should adopt an email-based service which will allow personal patient data to be transmitted into encrypted messages instead of faxes. What is zSentry? Well, zSentry is an email encrypting mail service that provides end-to-end encryption and two-factor authentication where neither the user, zSentry, or providers hold keys that would be vulnerable to security breaches. zSentry also allows you to encrypt webmail, mail apps, SMS, phones, forms and files, and many other types of software. It does not store user information, passwords, or keys anywhere on the actual pharmacy system, but instead, zSentry keeps all of this information fully secured within its own system. Why should Zanders choose the zSentry system? Because zSentry is HIPAA certified by the Office of the National Coordinator for Health Information Technology. zSentry does not obtain, scan, use, collect, disclose, store, share, own, control, or create protected health information. It also works both as a conduit and as a sealed service for the protected health information and satisfies the safe harbor provision of the HITECH Act. zSentry is constantly evolving, keeping in mind it's not only about the ease of use, but also to avoid common problems caused by human error and misuse. zSentry only keeps encrypted emails and forms for a 48-hour window period and then permanently deletes these files once the time is up.
So this is the zSentry app on the left, where the app is actually for a web interface, just your regular browser. It's not necessarily just for your phone, and you can log in. And generally, this can be initiated by either the doctor's office, a customer, or the pharmacy staff that's going to initiate an email. And incidentally, the next process is a password. Passwords are case sensitive, and we can click the allow one-click access to keep the password on file to save it in cache. Now we're at the critical part of the zSentry, where the doctor's office can actually assign. It can be emailed out to anybody else, but what we want to make it to where we keep it directly from the doctor to the pharmacy, so we'll have to put some constraints in for that. The doctor can attach a file just like it would a regular email, and they can actually attach the prescription to it, and the subject can be the patient's name, birthday. Again, it's encrypted, so nobody else is going to see this, even if they try to hack the computer or whatnot. So a couple of really nice features zSentry has to offer with the dashboard. So we've got controls, so we can disclose recipients, we can send individually, we can send it to an organization, and then in the delivery methods, when the recipient receives it, we may require that they are required to register with zSentry, or they're required to at least log in. At the same time, one of the best benefits of zSentry, aside from encryption, is the message fingerprint, so that they actually receive the message and returns receipt. So in the interface, when the customer, or well, primarily the pharmacy, when they receive the prescription from the doctor, they can automatically they should be already logged in, but they can log in and they can even reply to it if they need to, depending on the process. As you can see, assignment 1 just shows us a sample document. It will one of the preventative measures we took, so none of the prescriptions are lost in case the computer shuts down, there's any problem. As soon as the email opens, it does automatically do the download, where it goes directly into the prescriptions folder in the email server.
Hello, this is Joel, and I'm going to talk to you about the design part in the software development lifecycle. we're getting to the point in our project where we actually have to decide how are we going to do this. Now that we have understood the system, we've also understood the system in place, the strengths, the weaknesses of that system. We've identified the improvements necessary to correct the system. Then we've also have a plan to develop the concept for the new system that we're going to do. It's almost like we're doing a business process automation strategy or a BPA strategy. And we're going to start with the data model. That's what I'm going to cover. The data model, basically, you can start out by simply listing the steps of what you want your system to do. And in this case, to give you a quick example, we set out the doctor to create an order, and then the data clerk receiving the order. Then after that, the tech writes up the order, and the pharmacist will verify it so that the tech would fulfill the order after that. Then the last step in this case, the example is the pharmacist verifies a fulfilled prescription before it gets sent out to the patient. And that's how you start developing your data model, because you start identifying the pieces of information that would be ideal to keep track of and to keep in your system. And it also helps you to develop the ER diagrams, and eventually that will be the foundation for the database design. In this part of the software development lifecycle, in the design phase, it is important before you get to the detailed design to determine the overall architecture for the new system. And we also need to determine what physical components are going to be part of this system, how are each processes are going to be handled, if you're going to have any manual processes, if you're going to have any automatic processes, and at the same time, how to determine how the data flows are going to go for this particular system. You can see some of that here in the slide. The overall architecture also needs to be determined. If it's going to be a client-server based architecture, which in this case it will be. The data flows, like we've already said. But another important thing that will be covered later in the presentation for the design phase is GUI interface, and also the software that will be presented by one of my teammates, but it's also big parts of the design phase. In this particular case, we will not be having a lot of manual processes besides the entering of the orders and verifying them, making any corrections. Those are really the only manual processes to the system. Any other steps will be taken automatically, and that's part of the benefits of this system. The strategy that we're trying to do with this business process automation is to alleviate the pains that you have with fax-based systems, which is lines being busy, like we've already talked about, but the user interaction, which sometimes causes errors by keying the wrong numbers, by making this process a lot faster, so that users do not have to stand and wait for faxes to be sent out. And also, if they do not get a confirmation, they'll never know that the fax was not received. This process, as you see in the data flow, will definitely make sure that every step of the way the user is informed of what is going on, and the requester will know as well as what is going on, so that they don't have to be wondering if the fax was received, if the fax was sent, and if their order is being processed. This is the benefit of the system that we're proposing. Talk a little bit about the database. It's just going to be a relational database with the tables and relationships. We have the primary keys and also candidate keys and foreign keys. All those will be in effect in our database to utilize the system and make sure that it's normalized and make sure that it's working at the optimum speed and has good response times, and it's It's going to be a better process for the users and overall a better experience for this business.
Hi, this is Leeson, and I'm going to run you through the functional specifications of zSentry. So I'm sure that you have concerns about security measures this system uses to ensure patient-doctor confidentiality, so I'm here just to ease your mind. The system only allows users with login credentials to access these prescriptions. This means that no one else without proper login credentials can log into the system and view any of the confidential information. This is a huge relief for patients and doctors because there will be no information leak. These prescriptions are emailed via encrypted emails, so you would have to be logged in just to view them. So the user has to have a login credential, and they can only access these emails once they're logged in. Another benefit of zSentry is that the prescriptions are only available during a 48-hour window. So this is a great benefit because this ensures a speedy and efficient process. If it's only available for 48 hours in the system, that means the pharmacy has to speed the process up and do it in an efficient way. These are all the ways that we ensure that there is no security breach and none of the confidential information is leaked whatsoever.
We have analyzed the current system of the Zander's pharmacy, and it seems that the main problem derives from failed faxes. Our proposed solution suggests that Zander should reduce the need and dependency for these fax machines throughout the company, changing from faxing to a different method that's more reliable. We suggested that Zander's adopt an email-based service which will transmit encrypted information to all its users, which is zSentry. zSentry has all of the necessary tools and features that Zander's pharmacy needs to improve their faxing issue. zSentry will reduce the amount of failed prescription orders and help the company shift away from these outdated fax machines.